to go.
All right, Buc Bros, we finally made it. It is the final quarter of the NFL season. And wouldn't you know it, the Buccaneers are officially in the hunt. I didn't think I'd be saying that. That's right, after winning their last two games, the Buccaneers are the only team in the NFC with a 5-7 record, and they have sole possession of 10th seed right now. In this segment, we're going to go over the matchups in Week 14 that have a big influence on the Buccaneers' playoff hopes. For this, I'm going to be utilizing the NFL playoff machine brought to you by ESPN. It's really cool. You can actually go through the entire season and see what could happen to get your team into the playoffs and unfold any likely scenarios you see to happen and how the playoff picture is going to look through the weeks coming up. I encourage you, if you guys like to do this stuff like I do, go ahead and use it. I'll provide a link in the description below. But for right now, let's jump into Week 14. Welcome to the NFL Playoff Machine. We're here at Week 14, and as you can see, if the season ended today, these would be the teams in the playoffs. Luckily for our Bucs, the season still has 4 more games to it. So let's take a look at the standings right now. Currently, the Bucs sit at 5-7 and sit 10th in the NFC. Our only hope is for a wild card spot, since we cannot match the Saints' 10 wins. So let's look at the teams also in the wild card hunt. Currently, the Seahawks have the 5th seed with a 7-5 record, and the Vikings occupy the 6th spot with a 6-5-1 record. The teams above the Bucs are the Eagles, the Redskins, and the Carolina Panthers, all with 6-6 records. So the teams that the Buccaneers fans have to root against this week are the Vikings, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Washington Redskins, and the Carolina Panthers. Let's start filling these out. Obviously, the first game we need to secure is the Bucs victory against the Saints at home this Sunday. The Bucs moved to 6-7, and now we look to games around the league. The Panthers take on the Browns, and obviously we want the Browns to win this one, which would move the Panthers down. As you can see here, we actually jumped the Panthers, and we are now second in the NFC South with the same record. Let's look at the next game. The Eagles take on the Cowboys in Dallas. And while it pains me to say this, we'll have to root for the Cowboys this week. This will move the Eagles down to 6-7. And with our tiebreaker with a win over them earlier in the season, we'll jump ahead of them as well. A big game to watch is the Giants versus the Redskins. Again, we need the Redskins to lose to go down to a 6-7 record. However, the Redskins still hold a tiebreaker over us because they won against us earlier this season. So while we have the same record, technically the Washington Redskins are above us. Probably the most interesting matchup this week is against the Vikings and the Seahawks. The Vikings currently hold the 6th seed, and we need to even the playing field a little bit. So we're going to have to root for the Seahawks in this one and become the 12th man. Now, if we take a look over the overall standings now with these projections, the Bucs, the Panthers, the Eagles, and the Redskins are all tied at 6-7 in their overall records. And all of them are only a half game back of the 6th seed Minnesota Vikings. We can take some big leaps if everything goes right for us this week, as you can see right here. So make sure you root for the right teams here. And as you can see, we root for New York, Dallas, Seattle, and the Browns. So to wrap everything up, as Bucs fans, we need to root for 5 teams this week. That includes obviously the Bucs, but it also includes the Giants, the Browns, the Dallas Cowboys, and then the Seattle Seahawks. That's it. Those are the 5 teams you need to root for this week. The funny thing about it is I can see everything going our way this week. The Panthers are on the downslide after losing 4 straight, and they just fired a lot of assistant coaches. The Redskins are decimated by injuries and are relying on Mark Sanchez as their QB. The Seahawks always perform very good on Monday night and at home, so they could likely beat the Vikings. And the Eagles have to play Dallas in Dallas after a really big emotional victory for the Cowboys, and I think Dallas is going to bring it. Obviously, I think the hardest thing is the Bucs doing their own thing and beating the Saints. But if all goes well, and I'll keep my fingers crossed that it does, we could be really into the mix of this thing come Week 15. So let's pray to the football gods, Buccaneers fans. I think we all want to have a taste of the postseason. It's been a while, so let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's pray to the gods. Do everything you can to make sure that everything goes right this week and the Bucs get one step closer to the 2018 postseason. Up next, we got the fourth quarter. You know it as the money quarter. Bryce, give us a game preview and what we should expect when we face the Saints this Sunday.
All right, Buc Bro casters, welcome to the Money Corner. As JTP stated in the press this week, it's win or go home time for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this week, we got another tough division opponent coming into town as the Saints roll into Tampa Bay in what should be a great game. The Saints are coming off a tough loss to Dallas last week and what was probably Drew Brees' worst performance as a Saint since he joined the team back in 2006. So it's safe to say that the Saints will be coming in angry this week, especially since we put up 48 points on them in week 1. Baby, I like those numbers. Meanwhile, the Bucs are on a 2-game win streak.
Say what?
You heard me. 2-game win streak, a renewed energy on defense, a reimagined Jameis Winston, and a major turnaround in the turnover margin department has got the Bucs right back in the mix of the NFC playoff picture, as Ryan discussed earlier in this episode. All right, guys, so this should be a fun game. So let's break it down a little bit as we get set to make our late season push to the playoffs. This is a matchup of two of the best offenses in the league, as the Bucs are number 1 overall in the league with the number 1 overall passing offense, while the Saints are number 6 overall in the league and are averaging about 35 points a game. So obviously, this is where most of the action is going to happen in this game. And the matchup I'm really looking forward to watching is Jameis Winston versus Drew Brees. I think we all know what we're going to get out of Drew Brees, a future Hall of Famer who's not afraid to stretch the field and knows how to find open receivers like a fat kid knows how to find the cookie jar. The real question is if Jameis can keep up his play from the last 3 games, which has been by far his best 3-game stretch of his career. It's been a long time coming to see Jameis finally understand that taking a sack or throwing the ball away is a much better result than turning the ball over. I think we'll see Jameis continue his newfound glory, and I think he throws for around 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. On the defensive side of the ball, on paper, the Saints hold a clear advantage. But the Duff Man has this defense swarming to the ball and causing turnovers that have long been overdue. Much like my credit card bill. Since Mark Duffner has taken over as defensive coordinator, the Bucs are 2nd overall in the league in sacks, 3rd overall on 3rd down defense, and 10th overall in passing yards allowed per game. Man, what a turnaround from the beginning of this season. Problem is, guess who's 1st overall in sacks since that time? That's right, the Saints. Anytime you play Drew Brees and Sean Payton puts a lot of stress on the defense. But let me give you guys a stat that I could not believe when I first heard it. At home, the Bucs are allowing 20 points less a game than they are on the road. You heard that right. 20 points less per game allowed at home versus the road. What a dichotomy between home field. That's quite a home field advantage if you're asking me, man. So Seeing as this game's at home, I think we'll see the Tampa Bay defense swarm again to the ball this game and cause a few turnovers. Good things happen in Tampa Bay when the Saints roll into town in December, baby. So, to wrap things up smoothly, like a Christmas present you forgot to buy until 11 p.m. on Christmas Eve.
Oh, excuse me.
Yes?
I'm trying to find the German doll.
Me too.
Do you have any more in the back?
Here's my prediction. 28-24. Bucs, baby! We sweep the Saints, we get our third win in a row, and everybody gets a car.
You get a car! 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 Everybody gets a car!
So bring the family decked out in pewter and red this Sunday at Ray J, Buc Brocasters, because you're not going to want to miss this game. All right, as always, it's been a pleasure bringing you another episode of the Buc Bros podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, or John just might shit in your Christmas stockings this Christmas season. Ho, ho, ho. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Go Bucs!